Welcome back, Pot Coven, to the fourth episode in our elemental block. We are wrapping things up today by helping you out, by giving you special tips from our own personal practice and life experience to help you actually work with the elements in rituals. So you guys know we are elder witches. None of this stuff is new to us. That's why we're super excited to be doing this Grimoire season 4. Because we're excited to share all of our info with you guys and pass down this, all the practices that we've done, all the things that we've learned. So as we continue doing the Grimoire episodes, we're probably going to actually run through rituals with you guys at some point, maybe even with guests. We'll see. We're still working all this stuff out, but in good conscience, we couldn't just dive into a ritual right off the bat. You got to learn a few things, a few tricks of the trade. So before we get into said tricks of the trade, Ella, why don't you let everyone know what you're up to?
All right. Well, what am I up to? I'm doing all the things as per usual. I'm open for tarot readings right now. Shop should be fully stocked. Come on over on Instagram and find me at the.celestial.rose. And I also have a secondary Instagram for my officiant services, the.pagan.minister. You can follow me there as well. Lots of fun stuff. Just living life, sharing it with everyone. So come over and see me, say hi, let me know you love the podcast. How about you, Jess?
So you can find me in all the places online. You can find people at loving_incantations.
The people places.
The people places, the social media things and whatnot. So I am currently still offering business reading to any witches or just spiritual badasses in need of some guidance in their business. What direction do you want to go next? Where are you feeling stuck? What's your business story? Let's get you rolling and grooving with your business there. And then I still have open enrollment for my chakrology class, a mix of the chakra systems and reflexology to help you heal and align. So come check out more on my page for that course, and I would love to talk with you. Jasmine, what are you up to?
Well, you guys can find me at satin.saturn on Instagram and TikTok. Definitely follow me on TikTok if you don't. We have fun over there. It's mainly astrology themed on TikTok because that's just the most fun to do over there. Right now, really just doing readings. That's the best way to get in contact with me as far as services go. Tarot, astrology, numerology, I got it all for you, baby. Definitely going to be putting out a new course soon, but I'm just riding the waves of Basic Witch at the moment. So, yeah, let's get into it. First, let's all answer the question that's on everyone's minds. Why are elemental rituals important, Ella?
From my perspective, I would say that elemental rituals are important because, honestly, even if you don't really believe in magic, or even if you're not a very spiritual person, pretty much everyone is under the influence of the elements all the time. Like, you really don't have a choice. Like, if you are a creature existing under the sun, you're affected by the elements. If you feel wind on your skin or hair ever, you're affected by the elements. So if you walk on the ground, you're affected by the elements. So it's I like that it's very just like inescapable and it's very real, in a world where who the fuck knows the truth, really, it's nice to just know like what's fucking here and what's real.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to piggyback off of that. Nice. And go into, okay, so we all experience this. We're all held subject to the elements in whatever ways. And we're all, like Jasmine explained in our last episode with our astrology chart, we all are these elements, and they make up our personalities and the aspects of ourselves. So since we have this thing at our hands at all times, and it makes us up, and it makes the world up, and it makes life go around, why not look into those elements and see how you can utilize them? How can you take them and use them in your daily lives and your magical practices, and just becoming more. I want to be more fiery. I want to be more connected to my emotions in air and water, and I want to be able to flow, and I want to be able to ground. And these are the elements, and just being able to utilize them and connect in that way is really magical.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever really thought too much about the why of working with the elements, because it's an ever present thing. Like even before I was deeply spiritual, it's everywhere and it's in all sorts of storytelling, like how many times have you been watching anything, Avatar, Frozen 2, like the elements are a part of every kind of storytelling. They're so instinctually a part of being a human. And yeah, I mean, in my work specifically, I work with them to get more in touch with the moon, depending on what sign she's in. Doing magic around the moon. For instance, right now I have an Aquarius moon candle that I light every time she's in Aquarius. And I'll just be honest, I haven't thought too much about the why, but the evidence for me is just in that it's such a long history of humans working with the elements. It's such an intrinsic part of being a human, even outside of, modern woo-woo spirituality. It's a part of everything that we are. And so I think it's a very powerful tool to connect you to, honestly, being a human.
Yeah. And it helps you connect to, like your ancestral roots. It helps you connect to just you as part of the ecosystem of life, like just, really actually being and living as part of the earth. Whereas sometimes we can get caught up, especially with so many like cities and like 9-to-5 jobs and like, sterilized environments, like, not saying that some of these things aren't maybe necessary or helpful or whatever in their own merit, but just, we can be disconnected from the rhythms of nature, and the elements really just pull us back in and support us in that. So yeah, man.
And I think one thing we've really learned through this episode block is that they teach us about different energies that we can embody, and through embodying these different energies and being intelligent about when we embody them, it can help us live a more aligned, fluid, healthy kind of life. We have all of them inside of us, and we can utilize them at different times to just, live life with more ease, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, Ella, why don't you give us all of your elemental ritual tips? So, listeners at home, grab your pen, grab your pencil, grab your quill, whatever it might be.
Quill.
Grab your grimoire, your book of shadows, your notebook, your spare binder paper, your napkin, and write down your notes. Yes. Let's go.
All back of your hand.
Yes. Okay. So before we get too deep into our tips, I'm going to start y'all with just a couple overarching. I hesitate to call them rules, because then you get the whole fire of like people who just don't want to do it because you've called it a rule or something. So I will just say these are like my guidelines for people who are either just starting, or really anybody if you just haven't thought about it. These are just things that guide the way that I practice. So number one, anything that you do in ritual should be undone. Let me specify that. I guess I shouldn't have said anything. Certain things, like if you're doing like, some sort of knot spell or something, if your spell has a thing, a process, and then you're just supposed to leave it, like that's all good, that's all good. But what I'm talking about is like if you decide to call the corners, which we'll talk about in just a second, you also need to release the elements that you've called in. Or if you're going to open up a magical circle, you need to close a magic circle, So just if you're doing processes that you're like tapping into the next realm and you're inviting spirits, elementals, deities, ancestors, if you're inviting things or anything like that, or opening any kind of portals, make sure you just tidy up your loose ends at the end of the night, or the end of the ritual, the end of the spell. It can affect you afterwards if you do not, just because you've left, a little opening, a cracked door, into the next realm. So just remember to tidy up after yourself, leave things the way that you found them. And then number 2, we are going to just touch on the difference between invoke and evoke, because we are going to talk about, doing that with the elements. Okay, so if you invoke an element, or if you invoke a deity, or if you invoke something, you are inviting it into yourself. You are granting it permission, to kind of come in a little closer than just being around you. You're allowing it into your space and into your energy. So if you're going to invoke the elements, just make sure that you kind of know what you're doing, because it's a little more powerful than evoking. Evoking is when you invite something to come and assist you, or to come and be present, or to come and witness what you're doing. So I would say if you are starting out, try to practice with your words a little bit, because it can get tricky too when you're in the middle of a spell and you're like, shit, I said invoke, I meant evoke. Just kind of like take it slow. Don't worry about reading off a piece of paper. It's not a big deal. The spirits aren't going to hate you for it. Do as much diligence as you can for yourself. It really is helpful to just try to keep it tidy. Keep your spell work tidy. Yeah, so those are just the 2 overarching little things I have to say about magic. Okay, so calling the corners. You may have seen stuff like this in popular witch movies and TV shows, where a circle of 4 people call out the elements. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. There's lots and lots and lots of ways to do that. People all have their own, rituals and all that. I'm just going to tell you the directions that are associated with the elements. So for north, it is representative of earth. East is air. South is fire. And west is water. So those are where the corners belong. And yeah. If you need help, join my Patreon. And you can also message us and email us and stuff. But that's just the little tidbit for you. I also have a couple altar representations for each element, just to kind of get you thinking about things you may have around. For Earth, I just try to do something from outside, like a stick, some leaves, a pretty rock, or I don't know, something that was cute. Or also, if you have space for it and it's near a window, you can put a little succulent or a little small house plant on your altar if you want to. For air, you can put feathers. You can put a blade, like a knife, or I have these really cute vintage mail openers. You can also put some kind of cleansing instrument, like a bell or a small drum or something on there. You can use it for cleansing and to represent air, so dual purpose. And then what's next? South is fire. For fire, you can add a cinnamon stick to your altar. You can place your wand, or you can also symbolize it with gold and brass items. For water, I like to put a cute chalice on my altar, or a cauldron or something that holds water. It usually represents the womb and the water element and life and all that. You can also put shells, river stones, any kind of little treasure you've found near the water or that represents the water. Also, my daughter and I made a sensory globe to represent water, where we took a pretty just old bottle of something And we put mineral oil, glitter, and a couple like beachy, oceany kind of things. Like there was a little turtle toy, there was a couple of shells, a couple rocks, nothing too fancy. I think we sprinkled a little sand in there maybe too. And so then we just kind of shake it up, and that represents like the ocean or the water or stuff like that. So, yeah, those are things you can put on your altar. I have one more section. Do you guys have any questions so far or anything to say or
No.
comments? Okay, cool.
You're doing great. Keep going.
Cool. Yeah, all right. We're packing it in, y'all. We're doing the things. Y'all are going to be ready to go. Okay. My last section that I'm going to talk about is elemental timing. I can't remember if I actually read this somewhere or if I just fucking woke up and made this stuff. I don't know. It's applicable to my life, so I will at least say that. I feel like I've read it somewhere, but I don't know where, so apologies if I'm not giving credit to somebody. So basically, when we're talking about elemental timing, when you are working with the elements, they work at certain speeds. And, you know what it was? It was somebody talking about tarot, because it was talking about like, oh, if you pull, a certain suit, it relates to this, and this is how you can tell like timing and stuff when you're asking for timing. So, slowest,
interesting.
yes.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember. It's gonna bug me. One day I'll think of it, and I'll let you all know who said it first. Okay, so slowest to fastest is gonna be earth, water, air, and fire. I came up with a few words to just kind of like summarize what the energy is like when you're trying to use it for timing. For earth, I put slow, deep, true, structured, and stability. For water, penetrating, fluid, and overwhelming. These don't have to be like negative, like overwhelming. Like it could be good overwhelming as well. These are just things where I was trying to like capture the essence of the timing of the element. Air, unpredictable, spontaneous, exciting. Fire, immediate, fleeting, intense, and then permanence. If you want to use the elemental timing and you're not sure where to start, I have a couple little processes you can use. So for earth, you can bury, plant, or cover whatever it is that you're doing. If you're going to put something in the earth, just please make sure that it's supposed to be there. Don't go like, dropping a bunch of trash everywhere. Don't go burying a bunch of trash in your yard. That's not cool. But if you have like compostable paper, or it's something that'll dissolve quickly, or a symbol, or write something on a leaf, you write on a bay leaf and stick it in the earth or something. For water, wash off or release. For air, blow away or flush. I can't tell you how many times I've done a flushing spell, and they're my favorite. Yes, using the toilet, but I associate it with air just because of that motion of the plumbing. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
it swirls.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's like a little tornado. And then fire, burn, smolder, or bake. Yeah. So those are just a couple ideas. Like I have said in my episode a few back, I like to support what people are doing. So definitely take that and apply it to the things that are in your life. This is where all that critical thinking comes in. This is your homework,
skills.
y'all.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, cool. All right. Jess, your turn. Hit us with it.
All right. So I am one of those people that does not like working with rules. I set my own rules and then stick to those. So yes. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do, I'm just going to give you some ideas of like how I work with this and everything. So anytime I'm doing spell work, or anytime I'm connecting with the elements, or sometimes it's just the things that I'm doing throughout the day. First and foremost, get into your body. Like, get really present in your body. Is this something my body wants to be doing? Do I need to be doing it differently? Like, ask your body what it's wanting in that moment before you even start into anything. And then move into, and that is very representative of earth energy and present awareness. And then you can use breath work, embodying air, to to further get into your body, to get into meditative states. I don't think that you need to be in a meditative state every time you do any sort of work. That's not necessarily, but it does help calm you. It does help bring you, transmute feelings that have been having throughout the day, so that you're not coming in, because your emotional frequency is going to play a big part in the outcome of anything that you're doing. Whether or not that's you planting your garden or you doing spell work at your altar, your emotional frequency, what you put into it, you're going to get back. So if you come to it and you're angry, you're going to probably have more of a negative reaction or outcome to your work. And that would be a lot of water energy when you are bringing the awareness to your emotional frequencies. And then you're going to want to get really clear on your intentions, because this is what you're asking for. This is what you're calling out for. And here you're embodying the earth and air element, in my opinion. You can view it differently if you choose to, because this is all up for interpretation. So getting really clear on your intention. And when you're getting clear on that intention, your word choice should be impeccable, or as close to it as you can get. So when you're asking for something, simplicity is probably, like, for myself, biggest thing. Like, I don't need to go into detail, because sometimes the more detail I'm going into, the more I'm getting away from the baseline. And in doing magic for myself, I'm not trying to control the outcome. I'm trying to influence the outcome. So I'm also remaining open to what wants to come through. And so this for me would be a lot of earth and water energy. So I'm allowing myself to remain receptive, but still grounded in choosing these words that I know are going to be more beneficial. And like with the invoke and evoke, just like knowing what it is that you're asking for, and not just saying it because you think that it sounds good or this and that. And then after you've got your intention, visualization is such a powerful fucking tool. Use your imagination, embody the air element, and visualize what it is you're calling in. Visualize things being burnt up, things being transmuted, whatever it is that you're working with. And so then you can bring it back to breath work to help you kind of stay in that space. And yeah, those are my tips for you.
Lovely. Lovely tips, darling. Sorry. All right. Well, as I mentioned before, I predominantly do elemental rituals in alignment with moon magic. So that means doing spells with the 4 main moon phases: new moon, first quarter moon, full moon, and last quarter moon. So I will, not to go fully into moon magic, I will not, but there's usually an overarching intention. But so that's that's the driving force, the overarching intention. However, I honor whatever element the moon is in. So whatever that intention is, I will then, like I said in my episode, it's about leaning into the energy. So if the moon is in an earth sign, but my intention has to do with, strengthening my relationship, that's a really great time to plant a seed, or maybe move an older plant into a new pot, give it a new home, so utilizing earth in alignment with that intention. So I'm going to run through the elements and share the different things you could do as part of your ritual in alignment with the elements, as well as share some magic or some items that you can use in your ritual. So with earth, I for this, I put moving your body, just because connecting to the earth element. But of course, as Jess had shared before, you could also move your body to connect with fire, it's just about intention. If are you really feeling your body, or are you feeling the energy that your body is creating, right? But any kind of grounding, meditation, planting something, making something with your hands is very earth, crafting, very earthy. And then utilizing crystals or salt in your ritual. When it comes to fire, I hadn't read my notes before, but now I'm reading my notes on this. But I wrote Breath of Fire, which is a yogi breathing technique where yeah, you really build up the heat, and you actually focus on the outtake of breath. And the more that you punch out the breath, the more naturally it comes in. And it's kind of like you're punching it. But anyway,
I love that one. I do that one when I get upset. I'll go outside and just like basically huff to myself a little bit, and I'm just like, okay, I actually feel a lot better.
Yeah, that one is really good for fire if you're familiar with it. If you haven't been taught how to do it, breathing techniques, like, you do need to be taught how to do them if you're familiar with. I can't remember the Sanskrit name for breath of fire, but there's also Ujjayi breath, which I also love. Both of those are heat building. But I also wrote screaming and fucking. So those will both really help get you into the fire element if you're feeling it,
I dig that.
Yeah, using fire, using candle magic in your ritual is my favorite way. I think it's most witches' favorite way to like tangibly utilize fire in their rituals. I mean, I love candle magic, but I'm also afraid of it. My office now is pretty small, so yes, I do set off the fire alarm often. Just traps the smoke.
I've always burned things, like pyro maybe, but definitely I would write things and I'm like, nobody's ever going to read this ever again, so I'm going to burn it. But just like the act of putting it on the paper and then burning it, it was like super transformational.
Yeah, I love that shit. That's also great too, especially if you're working with a full moon and you're like really trying to release something, writing it down, burning that shit. Chef's kiss. Air, journaling, chanting, literally talking to spirits, God, ancestors, angels, whoever you're working with. That's great. And then utilizing incense or any other kind of smoke cleansing that you utilize. It's a great way to invite air in. And then for water rituals, you're going to want to do a ritual cleansing, whether that's a shower or a bath, or literally even just washing your hands or brushing your teeth. Sometimes is a really great way to do it if you don't have a whole lot of time, but you just still want to get intentionally in there. Crying, if that feels right, let it out, baby. And then, yeah, having a bowl of water on your altar, or putting, if you're able to, a jar of water out to create moon water underneath that lunation is a great way to invite some water into your magic, into your life. And then you can use that moon water for lots of stuff. We've talked about it in other episodes of the podcast, but moon water is a very popular thing, so won't get into too much detail. But yeah, those are all the ways that we like to work with the elements. Those are, I mean, shoot, we giving you so much information about the elements. I hope you guys feel ready, willing, excited. We decided to start with the elements because this is our first block in the Grimoire, and this is like bare bones, We wanted to start from the beginning. We didn't want to dive into anything too complicated, too intricate. So this is the building blocks of magic, really.
Mm-hmm.
Diving into the elements. Here we are. We did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what you had said. I think it was on your episode about being a dancer and taking the intro classes more than once. It's like there's no bad time to go back and look at like the basics of what you do. I find myself doing that a lot. Like the more quote unquote advanced I feel like I am, the more that I'm like, wow, I really just need to like lean on the real basics of things. Like the more fancy, everyone always thinks you need to be super fancy, but honestly, like, yeah, just that basic foundation is where it's at.
Yeah, honestly, I went through a huge phase where I was getting stressed out about ritual or practice, and really just cutting it down to what it is I actually needed, how I could actually connect. It didn't need to be, like Ella said, it doesn't need to be fancy. I don't need to have elaborate theatrics to be able to practice my craft.
Right. Right. It's definitely very alluring when you first start practicing. The more elaborate side of it is very alluring, but I feel you kind of like there's this curve to it where you get more intense and more elaborate, and then eventually you just go down the hill and you're like, we're just gonna have some polite everyday witchcraft. I mean, as we said,
bro.
I think as we said in the first episode, of course there's a time and place for, big ceremonies and some dope ass, wild witchcraft, but the day-to-day stuff is fucking dope. And that's what the elements are about, because that shit is around us day to day.
Yep.
So we will be back with a whole new block next week. Very excited to share that with you, but we're not going to tell you what it is yet, so you'll just have to check it out, my babies. You know where to find us, but in case you don't, we are Power of Three Podcast on Instagram. We try to upload there every day, sharing other witches that we love, talking about stuff that we love, sharing memes and all that good stuff. Definitely take screenshots of the episodes. Let us know what you think. If we blew your mind with anything, if you loved returning back to some foundational information with us, give us a shout out, because we see all you guys listening. We see the stats, we see the numbers, but we especially love seeing you guys give us shouts out. Give us shout outs. There we go. Online. It warms our little cold witch hearts. So please do that. We will catch you next time, which is bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.